All right, so now that we got the model in here, what we want to be able to do is animate him. In order to animate the model, I mean, I can animate the model, right? But if I want to like actually have him articulate and deform and bend and twist and do all the things that a normal model could do, I need to make a rig, okay? Before I rig it, what I want to do is just make sure that they're facing positive on Z. So if you look down here, you'll see the Z is going this way. I want him being forward, right? Z is the depth, so this means this is front. Make sure that they are. If they are not that, just go to the channel box up here, and then just on Y, type in like 90, or type in 180, or type in 270, or type in 360, or 0, because it's the same thing, okay? But you would just rotate it by using the rotate Y, because the Y axis is this one. And I'll just twist it that way, all right? So make sure they're going this direction. So what we want to do is we need to put some joints in here. The joints are going to be our way that they're going to bind to our model, and then we're going to articulate those. And when it moves, the model will move with the joints. Okay, they work just like joints in a human body in a way. All right. So we're going to switch to the rigging tool set, and then we're going to go to skeleton, and you want create joints, and that's just the tool we're going to use. We don't want to draw on here though. I want to use those 4 views. So I'm going to tap spacebar. And then I want to go to this side view, tap spacebar. And the reason why I go in the side view is just that when I draw my joint chains, I'll do this, I'm just showing you, it will draw it on origin, meaning if I put this back on, it will draw it on the center line because we're facing this direction, and that is the center line of the bird. So it makes it easier to draw a flat spine in here, okay? But if I wanted to go, flat this way, then I would just draw a joint chain like this, and you will see that it would draw it that way. And if I did a joint chain over here, you would see that it would go in that direction. Okay, there you go. So you can see. Okay, but obviously that's not what we're looking to do. So we're just gonna. So it's easiest to try and draw the spine actually from the side view because he is centered. In fact, actually, I'm gonna move him forward a little bit so he's a little more like centered in my thing here. All right, so the next thing I want to do is when I go to draw these joints, what you're going to notice is I can't see it. It's because it's inside the model, okay? So we're just going to make sure we do x-ray joints. Just makes it easier. I mean, you could also hit 4 and go to wireframe and do it, but it's nicer to look at it like this. So you can either click on this button or you go shading, x-ray joints. It's the same thing. See that now the button's on. And then the other thing, well, okay. So that's fine. So now this is going to be different depending on your model. So if you want to have a root joint, and the root joint is basically the joint to which all the other joints are rooted to, meaning that if you follow the parenting, it's the most top parent joint. And it's basically what drives the motion of everything else. It's the primary movement. It's the unmoved mover, if you're a philosophy person. So most of the time that's the hips, right? Where the hips go, the rest of the body follows. That's not always the case. I mean, it's almost always the case, but for some animals, like let's say you have a snake, right? If you were to look at a snake, its head is the thing that drives the motion, right? You would follow the head, and then the rest of the body follows it. It pushes with its head. So you would start with the head and then move your way back to the tail. Most things like humans and quadrupeds, it's usually the hips, okay? So that will be the case also with this bird here. All right. So I'm going to draw a joint. And what we want to do is somewhat follow. We want to think about the anatomy as well as the model. So we want the joints to generally go where the anatomy is. And we want the joints to also go roughly in the center of mass. Meaning like if I'm doing inside of here, I want to go in the center, right? But obviously if we were going to be 100% accurate with anatomy, the spine's up here, right? So you have to kind of go halfway between the two. It depends on whether you go more cartoony or more realistic. But we'll just kind of do this, all right? So it's going to be different depending on what you have. So I'm going to start with the hip. There's the hip. Now your joint might be a little large, so all you want to do, I already did the sizing on this. You would just go to display, animation, go to joint size, and then mine was originally this big, and that was too big, so I just made it smaller. I did 0.25. I found that was a little bit better to work with. It's just a visual thing. It doesn't do anything. It just makes it easier to see. And then I just want some joints for the body here. Okay, so I'm just going to go from the hips and work my way up to the head. So we'll go here, and then we don't want a lot because we're doing a video game, so this isn't going to be a hyper realistic character. So we'll just do a couple. So I'm just going to go like, let's say here and here, and then we'll say this is the base of the head, right? So that's fine. Now normally, if you do the base of the neck, right, you'd have a neck joint and then you'd have a head joint. All right. That's probably all you would do. Obviously there's 7 cervical vertebrae. I know that there's a bunch, right? So we have 12 thoracic and 5 lumbar. But we're just going to do, I'm actually going to put one in between here, and then one at the base of the head, just because my dude's like a duck, goose here. And so they have obviously, birds actually have varying, most other animals, they have 12. Like mammals all have 7 cervical vertebrae in their necks. Even giraffes, they're just longer. Some birds, like owls, you know, they can almost twist their head around. They'll have like 18. Like they'll have a crazy number of vertebrae. It depends on the bird. So, or cervical vertebrae, the neck vertebrae. Anyway, so we're gonna go there to the head, and then lastly, I just need to go to the tip of the head. So you just want to go to the top of whatever your head is, and that's gonna be right here. This joint doesn't do anything. It's really this one that's gonna be the head turner. Not this one. Okay, so we'll call that a spine. That's fine. Now, normally I go through and name them all, but I don't want to waste all the time on that. So we'll call that a spine. Now, that should be good by default. Let's see if we go in here, and I'll put X-ray joints on by clicking on this so I can see. And you can see, yay, that looks fine. All right. If you do need to move one, you can just move them before you bind them, but just be aware it's going to throw off some things. So if you do, and also it moves the ones after it, see? So I was like, oh man, I wish, you know, this was a little bit more down or something. If I don't want to move the ones above it, if you hold D, you can push it and it won't move the others. Don't grab by the center though, because it moves it in all axes. So just move it in the one, because we want to keep it straight this way. After you do move a joint, just make sure you grab this, and then just go to skeleton, and you want to just do orient joints, and that'll just reorient the joints. Just want to make sure you do that, because otherwise you might run into issues. That's only if you move them. If you're happy where you started, then you're good. All right. We'll call that fine for a spine. I don't really care beyond that. Next thing we're going to need is some legs, okay? I'm again going to switch to the side view here, because the legs are on this plane, if you will. So I'm going to go back to the joint tool. So just skeleton, skeleton, create joints. And we're just going to do what you do with the leg, right? So we got the hip here, then the knee, then the ankle, the metacarpals, and carpals, and we'll just do one here. Okay, so like this. Boom, and then I'll hit enter when I'm done. Hopefully, enter when I'm done. There it goes. Okay, so that'll be a leg. Now you're going to notice though that that leg is no good because it puts it directly. I just tap spacebar in the center. So that actually has got to go this way. So I'm just going to push it over this way, and we'll just look at it and see how the positioning is. So we'll just try to keep it straight. And mine's a little bit off, so what I'm going to do is just rotate it this way a little so that it follows a little bit better. Let's go this way a little bit more, and then we'll rotate a little bit more, like that. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Again, if you need to move them, you can move them. I would just hold D while you do it so it doesn't affect the ones afterwards. And then if you do it, just grab it and do skeleton orient joints. Orient joint. Okay. That looks fine. So we'll call that a leg. Next what we're going to do is just go up here with the arm. So if you look at the arm, right, it kind of follows this plane. So I'm going to actually do this from the top. Okay. Got Jonathan Livingston Seagull over here. I'm going to hit 4 so I can see. Okay, that doesn't work well. Let's hit 5. I'm just going to go ahead and do the X-ray joints. Okay, so I'm working on this side. So I'm again going to do the same thing we normally do, where I'm just going to draw my joint chain. So we'll go roughly here. See, I don't want to click and drag. There we go. There. And then we want to do, I'm trying to think if it's this. This, and then this. This feels a little bit, I'm going to enter. This one feels a little bit too far back, so I'm going to hold D and move it back. So a good thing when you are doing this is to look at actual anatomy. So we'll call that good, right? So that's what a bird wing would look like. And I moved mine, so I'm just going to go to skeleton and orient joints. You'll just see how it snapped it back to their correct positions. It'll reorient them so that they are facing the right, that the angles are right on the joints themselves. All right. Now I'm gonna tap spacebar, and you're gonna see it's not gonna be in the right spot, or it kind of is. I'm surprised that's okay. So I'm gonna hit the up arrow, the W for the move tool. So W, E, and R, and we'll just move it down a little bit so it's a little more centered. And then you can see, right, it's a little bit off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use E for rotate, and I'm just going to rotate this down. That's a little bit better, and then we'll also rotate it this way. And I'm just trying to get it as much in there as possible. Let's rotate it a little bit this way and then down. And I think that is fine. We'll call that good. All right, and I guess we'll give him a tail piece here. I'm not going to give him a jaw just because he doesn't really need one. I didn't give him a mouth, so he's not going to have a mouth. But I will give him a tail just to show you. All right, so then we're just going to go to create joints again. So skeleton, create joints, and I'm just going to go boom to boom, and we'll call that a tail. All right, and that's already centered because it's in the center of the model, so it works fine. Now these all need to be parented to the model itself. So what you want to do is I'm going to hit Q for just select. I'm going to select the base of this one, and then I'm going to hold Shift and click on this second and hit P. That will parent this to this. Click on this one, hold Shift, click on this guy. P. Select this one, hold Shift, click on this one. Is that where I want to go? Yeah, we'll just go there. And P. Okay. Now you'll notice I do not have this on the other side, right? So I need the other side. So what we're going to do is you're just going to select the base of this arm here, right? So not there, but here. And then you're just going to go skeleton, and you'll just do mirror joints. Actually, hit the option box. I'll just do edit reset tool, reset settings. Okay, we want to do on the YZ because I want it to go across. So see how it says, well, it doesn't really help you, but YZ, okay? Behavior is fine, and then just hit mirror. Yay. And then I got to do the leg too. So I'll select the leg, and I'm just going to hit G. And that, since that was the last thing I did, it will mirror that, all right? Last thing to do now is to bind the model. Where do we have? 12 minutes? Okay. We'll call that good as far as skeleton, and then the next one will actually, I'm going to turn this back off, we'll actually bind the model. All right?